My ex-boyfriend had pictures and videos of me naked.
So I sent him 4 nude pictures of myself. As she clicked on it was a video of her showering and urinating.
The kinds of consequences that result from the disclosure of these images can range from the victims feeling completely humiliated.
It was really a hellscape for me.
And I was really, really scared.
She always felt like she lived on a knife's edge.
To losing their jobs.
She was at her firm and had wanted to apply for a federal clerkship, but she said, I can't. These people Google, and what do you think they're gonna find?
To having to move from their homes.
So I ended up changing my name. You can never get it taken down. It never leaves you.
And some cases,
An incurable disease.
in really severe instances,
Sexual dignity.
it's also leading them to suicide.
Sexual dignity.
As a society, it's kind of becoming normalized. And for users, some might say unavoidable.
Cybersexual abuse is the act of exposing sexually explicit images or videos of a person without their consent. In 2016, 10 million Americans, mostly women, reported being victims of cybersexual abuse. The numbers rose steadily, with more than an 100% increase over the next year.
So we know that across the globe that basically 30 to 40% of women, young women, so women in their 20s, will experience some form of online abuse that includes non-consensual intimate imagery.
The rise in cybersexual abuse is in part because of increased access to the internet. The images are most commonly spread online, where they are difficult to trace and easy to distribute. As of 2016, more than 2,000 websites have been created solely for the purpose of revenge porn, in addition to the many other platforms that distribute it.
The social media platforms, Facebook, Twitter, etc., they make decisions about the content they want on their platforms.
We have these giant tech companies that are essentially as influential as nations and as governments worldwide, and yet they're not held accountable and they're not held to the same standards.
Our proposal for Congress is that they pass the S.H.I.E.L.D. Act because it would protect women nationwide, force platforms to face criminal liability, and punish offenders appropriately for the severity of their offenses. Federal legislation regarding cybersexual abuse has been on the radar since 1996, although none has made it into law. That being said, huge strides have been made, mostly due to tireless work of activists across the country, such as the Cyber Civil Rights Initiative.
When the Cyber Civil Rights Initiative began advocating for legislative reform in 2013, there were only 3 U.S. jurisdictions that had laws prohibiting this kind of conduct. Following our advocacy efforts, that number is now 48.
The issue with this is that states can only do so much. Without federal legislation, current laws fall short of sufficiently protecting victims.
A lot of the laws in those states are very weak and badly defined.
For one, most states wrongly define the crime as requiring the intent to harm, which isn't always the case, and also why the term revenge porn is misleading.
Perpetrators aren't doing it for revenge, they're doing it to show off. They're doing it because it makes them feel cool and it's fun, because they don't realize it's so harmful.
Additionally, the legislation can differ drastically between states, sometimes classifying cybersexual abuse as a felony and, more often, as a misdemeanor, the equivalent of a traffic violation. Despite the clear link between the S.H.I.E.L.D. Act to women's rights and sexual exploitation, it is not always popular among liberal organizations. For example, the ACLU has firmly opposed any legislation restricting cybersexual abuse, citing it as a First Amendment violation.
So unfortunately, unexpectedly, in addition to revenge pornographers themselves and people who want to protect bad actors, we also had to deal with opposition from really respected civil liberties organizations.
The nonprofit has always held an unbending stance on free speech.
The refrain we always heard was, there's no way that you can create these bills or these laws in a way that is constitutional. You know, there really is no right to express yourself through the naked pictures of somebody else.
At present, the S.H.I.E.L.D. Act has passed the House, but waits to be written into law. The purpose of the act is to deliver justice for women who have faced cybersexual abuse, and to warn potential perpetrators that their actions would have real consequences. State-to-state legislation is not enough, and federal action is needed to truly protect victims from a crime that could ruin their personal and professional lives.
Like, none of the activists and the grassroots organizations that have been fighting for this crafted these bills. No one's going to stop now. This is just a game of perseverance and stamina, and our side has way more stamina than the other side.